And that brings me on nicely to our AppDate. It's the first week that we're only running an AppDate on a Monday, and the reason it's become a new Monday feature is for the last few weeks we've been reporting every show on the NHS Covid-19 App pilot in Newham. That pilot finished on Friday, and the new improved app is going out live to the nation on Thursday. I was privileged to have a talk this morning with two of the women who are at the top of the team. There's some changes you won't see. I think that was the first kind of message that I got. It was going to be renamed, and now it isn't. So it will remain the NHS Covid-19 app. If you see in the press today articles about the Test and Trace app, that's what it would have been called had they changed the name. So that press stuff is a little bit out of date. Another aspect that they're working very hard on at the moment is the risk settings, because there's a little bit of confusion between what they say and what they mean. At the moment, it's a kind of, if your area is no worse than the rest of the country, it automatically comes out as low risk, but obviously that's not true at the moment. So in response to the way the situation has changed, they're also looking at how to kind of redefine that aspect. But it will generally have the same 6 functions and critically this very, very clever Bluetooth function. So I think before we move on more generally to other types of app, let's play one of our what we call short auntie films. And that's not because auntie is short, but that's because it's a short version of our longer 7-minute film, which is called WhatsApp Auntie. WhatsApp Auntie is available on our website, and so are the 9 2-minute versions for social media. It's on a Creative Commons license, which means anybody can use it as long as they don't change it. And this is one of the short auntie videos that just looks at some of the privacy concerns that I know have been coming up in the press this morning.
WhatsApp, Auntie.
What are you looking at?
The new NHS Covid-19 app, Auntie.
What's that?
It's a new way to fight coronavirus using our phones. It'll help everyone to protect each other and save lives.
Do you need to know your NHS number?
No, you don't need to enter any personal information into the app. I know your privacy and security is important to you, but the app won't affect that.
Will you help me to install the app now, please?
Yes, of course, Auntie. Support the app. Support the NHS. Save lives.
And that was one of our short aunties. I'm an auntie myself, so I rather enjoy the whole auntie thing. And that, of course, was our wonderful Sahira Khan. Sahira is an actor and TV presenter. She grew up in Newham and she lives very close now. So we've been really delighted to work with Sahira on that. You will have seen some of Sahira's film poems on this stream in the past, and you will continue to see Sahira's films in the future. We're hoping that these auntie films are now going to be used across the UK to explain to people, well, WhatsApp with the app. So, does anybody have any comments, questions? I mean, Unfortunately, more of the country are now in lockdown than they were on Friday, because you were already under special measures on Friday, weren't you? And now a number of areas in Wales have been added. So if you're in Wales, welcome to the club.
Yeah, and I think the majority of the north of England as well now as well. So
Yes, I think more than 1 in 7 of the UK are now in additional measures. I think it was 1 in 10 about the middle of last week. I forget, because it is going up. And there's still very much kind of in discussion about what extra is going to be happening in London. And that does look inevitable. I mean, I think if it was down to the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, we would probably already have had additional measures put into place. But it does seem a little bit, I don't know, it's a bit of a mixed message from the Mayor's office, because if you want everybody to go into central London and then you're concerned about infection rates rising, I do think you have to take some responsibility for that yourself. But nonetheless, Julie, did you have any latest thoughts on the NHS COVID-19 app?
Yeah, I saw an article briefly. I haven't read it in full detail. Excuse me. Indicating that there's a trial program using pendants in a very similar way to the app. That I think it's Hong Kong or Singapore. People have been issued with these pendants, which electronically can check into places and check into other other people using the apps. I think in a very similar way to the app development in this country.
No, I'm really glad you asked that question, and that's genuine. I promise that we didn't practice that beforehand. What's happening in countries like that is the thing is working in a completely different way. Your data is being kept, and it's being kept centrally, and that's what those pendants do. They monitor you, they track you. It's almost like wearing one of those bracelets, you know, that you have when you come out of prison on parole. Whereas not that kind of bracelet. Whereas the NHS COVID-19 app, as it said in the film, you don't enter any personal data, no personal data. Nobody knows anything. All of the information stays on your phone. Where you've been stays on your phone. Who you've been in contact with stays on your phone. And it's your phone that will tell your contacts, in the same way that the venue that you've been into will tell your phone if they're in special measures. This is all about phones communicating with each other and not the government. There have been some very strange stories, I think, in the media over the weekend, where people are still concerned that somehow they're going to be tracked if they download this app. And it is nonsense. However, if you're concerned about digital privacy, then I would very strongly recommend, and it's the kind of thing we will continue to discuss. Very often, when you go onto a new website, it asks you to accept cookies. And those cookies, little bits of software, very often report back every single thing you do, how long you spend on the computer, what programs you spend time on, and so on and so forth. I always make it a habit to say no. And then usually what will happen is they will offer you an option where everything other than the essential cookies is turned off. And if you go save and exit on that, they can't track your data. So I think most people are having lots of their own data already tracked, not by the government, but by all sorts of private companies who then sell that data on as well. But the NHS COVID-19 app is very much designed to be anonymous and private. And I think that's one of its huge advantages, because Google and Apple have had to come together to write new code for their phones to enable all of this. We talked about the latest OS 14 update for the iPhones on Friday, and how that contributes. It's a really big effort, and part of that effort has been the anonymity, because Google and Apple quite rightly said they simply wouldn't cooperate with something where your data could be tracked. So I think the sophistication of being able to run your Bluetooth in the background, taking just a tiny bit of power and a tiny bit of data, and to do all those things with it, I think it's not world beating, because across the world this is being rolled out, apart from in places where they're just desperate to monitor their citizens. but it certainly is world class, and that's really all we ask.
And I think what is apparent is that there is the need to boost public confidence or public belief in both the anonymity of the app, but also in how effective it's going to be. You know, and I'm we've talked a lot about, you know, how it will work, you know, what the bonuses are, you know, its effectiveness in getting to many more people than many of the other things are, but that's not yet what's being publicly put out there. And I think that those bits of information are, you know, absolutely essential to make people go, well, okay, nobody's going to know who I am or where I was, but it will tell me if I was near somebody else. And you know, and it's got that kind of, it can do that for this amount of time, and it can simply tell you if you went to Pizza Hut on Tuesday last week, somebody did who had also been there was subsequently tested positive, then you can go, oh, cool. And those kind of like very human versions of it, rather than it being about statistics, you know, and mega data and this, that, and the next thing. I think actually bringing it right down to that kind of personal level would be really important.
Yes, I mean, I think there's been a lot of very negative media which has been undeserved because, as I understand it, the original Isle of Wight trial was very successful. Lots and lots of residents took it, they liked it. Unfortunately, where it fell down was it wasn't based on this Google Apple model, you know, which was itself only just being developed at the time. So the Bluetooth didn't work. But as an app, it was extremely popular. So I'm disappointed, if you like, by some of the mischief making. I saw something in one of the broadsheets at the weekend that said, oh, it's got to have 80% of people using it or it's useless. Well, that's not true at all. Even 5%, if 1 in 20 smartphone users used it, it would already make a difference. But if 1 in 5 used it, then on its own, it would be more effective than if the test and trace system wasn't running at all. If you take the test and trace system and the app, that's what the test and trace system needs to kind of deal with the demand. And as we speak, they are looking at doing even more sophisticated things with the app, which should help relieve the pressure on test and trace even more. Yeah, I think that let's see it before you have all this sort of negative media stories, because we all want to get back to whatever a real new normal looks like, and certainly by next year. So we want people to be using this app. I think anybody who knows me knows that I will always speak up. So I'm promoting it because it's a good thing to promote. I'm saying I'm impressed with it because I'm impressed. And every single thing we can tell the NHS about how to tweak it to make it more inclusive and accessible, trust me, we have been taking that right to the top and been assured that we've been listened to. So we'll say this again on Wednesday, but without a full length app date. But if you've got a smartphone, make sure your operating system's up to date. Get ready for Thursday. Go onto the App Store. It's very, very quick and easy to download. It takes up almost no space. It runs on almost no data and no power. What's not to like? So I would really appreciate it if you would do that. Does anybody have more dreadful puns for me? Well, you can tell it's Monday, can't you?